G'day everyone. Welcome to the Unbox Your Gift podcast. I'm your host, Rita Joyan. A warm welcome to you because today's episode is about how do you actually turn a passion into a profession? How do you migrate something that ignites fire in your soul? And how do you take that and actually create a profession from it in terms of an income stream, in terms of doing it professionally, if that's what you so choose to do? And what I want you to do is really get clear. There has been a time in your life. There's been a time in your life when you achieved something. It didn't have to be to do with work. It could have been personal. It could have been something that you were able to achieve, attain, gain. And in doing that, that gave you a sense of accomplishment or gave you a sense of, I did it. You know what I mean? So I want you to think back, and even as far back as school or as far recently as school, and just think of a moment that you were happy with something, that you achieved something. And I want you to think back and reverse engineer that process and think, well, what happened for me to achieve that moment of attainment, that achievement? Because what's very important that I have found is when you're turning your passion into a profession, you need to recruit references in your head, beliefs in your head, memories in your mind that you've already done things to succeed, no matter how small they might have been. Because it's important to give your brain that stock that you have succeeded before, that you have done something well before, because then that gives you the confidence to move from passion to profession. So what I want you to do is go back in time and think about a memory, a time when you achieved something. And when you think about that, like, so for example, I was able to build the courage to go to a speaking competition, and actually complete a speaking competition back in school when I wasn't even prepared. And now I didn't win that competition, but I vouched the bravery, the courage, I kind of like overcame what are my peers going to think? And I was like, 15, 16 at the time, I think it was. And I got over the fear of what's everyone going to think of me? How am I going to get past it if people laugh at me? What if I can't do it? So all that stuff that came up for me, and what if I don't win? And of course I didn't win, but what my achievement was that I got past myself. I got past my own limitation of what if I fall flat on my face on stage? And then what I thought to myself is, well, what allowed me to get up on that stage and put my hand up and go into that competition? So I looked back and I looked at, well, there were a few things that happened. So I reverse engineered the process, and I've just written them down here and I'm going to read them. I challenged myself. It was a challenge, and I wanted to challenge myself. I felt unsure. I had an accountability. I said yes to my teacher and she was a teacher that I didn't want to disappoint. So I had accountability that I already said yes, I would confirm and I would commit to it. And even though my fears got in the way, I couldn't get out of it. I had a deadline. There was the competition date that I couldn't move. That was so can you see what I'm saying? I reversed engineered what got me to the point when, even though I was scared out of my mind, and even though I didn't excel at this particular, I still achieved. I achieved getting over myself. And that, to me, and I'm giving you that as an example. So you can choose anything in your background, anything as far as this morning, this afternoon, what this was something that you were able to achieve, and reverse engineer the process that led you to that. What are the steps that happen? Because we're not conscious of these things. We're not conscious. And if we're not conscious of them, we can't really see what our specific recipe of attaining achievement really is. And that's the best way that you and I are going to find what is really going to integrate with our soul, what's going to really speak to us, is when we get very clear on reverse engineering the process that speaks to us. Because I can tell you right now, there are so many things on the internet, off the internet, that will teach you how to turn your passion into a profession. And some of them will work, some of them will not work, based on where you are, based on what they're teaching. There's a whole variable as to why something will work or not, based on how strong you are in your mindset, that you can push through all those barriers of limitation or limiting thinking. But at the end of the day, for you to access your skill set, for you to access how good you are in what you do, for you to build this tag word that we've got going on right now called self-awareness, for you to build that, the best way to do that is to look at what did I do well in, and reverse engineer what took place, what things had to happen for you to gain something, achieve something. And like I just gave you that example of me being in school, putting my hand up to go in a school competition. I had to get over on my own self of what my peers are going to think. What if I didn't have the speech prepared? So what allowed me to do that? Well, there was a deadline. I had to have accountability to my teacher. I felt unsure. That's what I was feeling. So if I'm feeling unsure, then know that I'm on the right track because I'm growing. I had notes. I had notes with me to get up there and speak. I had some palm notes. That's a strategy for me. Having palm notes is a strategy for me specifically. I looked at it every day. I looked at my goal every day that I need to get up and speak. I need to get up and speak. So it was front and foremost in my head. So I wasn't, I wasn't forgetting about it and going into a panic mode, even bigger panic mode than what I already was in. And I had a why. My why was I doing this? Because I've always wanted to be in this competition in high school. I always wanted to participate in this competition. And this was my last year that I could do it because I think the year after, it was only available to up to you until you were 16. And so the year after I was going to turn 17 or whatever the cutoff date year was, and I wasn't going to be able to do it next year. I think I was going to be in year 12 and I couldn't compete in year 12 because I'll be too busy. So, my point is I'm giving you the recipe for what allowed me to get out of my own way to build self-awareness. And the self-awareness for you is going to come when you create your own recipe. And the way to find that is, once again, I must say it again, is go back in time. Go back to when you were a child. It doesn't matter. Go back to when it was last week, last month, this morning, whenever it was that you feel that you achieved something, that you got over a bump, a hump, something that is going to limit you. You broke through it. And then what happened for you to break through it? And really get very curious about the minuscule steps, like the minute steps that it took to get to that. And there is going to be the foundation, because all you need to do now is replicate that recipe, is to reuse that recipe, because that recipe there in front of you is what is going to allow you time and time again to move from motivation to transformation, move from passion to profession, move from a dream to a goal, move from its dream to its reality. That's what it's going to be able for you to do. So that's what I'm trying to get you to see for yourself, to see your own recipe for achievement, your own recipe for happiness, your own recipe for optimizing your own life. And we all have it. And so when you see people who sell programs online, how to blog, how to build an online business, what they're doing is they're selling you the recipe that's worked for them. And that's 100% right. Usually, I don't know who you've seen, but usually they are selling the recipe that works for them. So why don't you find your own recipe that works for you? And say, for instance, you want to do something that you've never done before. So you want to do something that you've never done before. You deploy your own recipe. You recruit your own recipe. And if that's not working, then obviously you need help. You need to upskill yourself. You need to maybe gain new belief systems, new strategies. And that's when you would recruit someone to teach you. But first look at your own recipe. First look at what turns you on, because that already has gotten you to a certain place. And all you need to do is tweak it, harness it, redeploy it, use the recipe again, cook with it again. And then if it's still not working, then go and ask for help. But in the first instance, look at what turns your own lights on. Look at what is enabling you to be able to create what, the tag word is peak performance. But it's really optimizing you. It's optimizing what you've already done. And why it's going to be very helpful for you is because you're going to find that you're going to be safe. You're safe because it's your recipe for you. Like, your recipe may not work for your children. Your recipe may not work for your spouse. Your recipe may not work for a client. Your recipe but it will work for you because it has. You somehow had to find a way to break through, and that's the recipe that you did. So just put it down on paper. What did I achieve? What were the steps that it took to get to there? And now look at that recipe that you have in front of you. And I just read you mine, right? That's my recipe. When I'm looking at a goal, when I'm looking at to turn a passion into a profession, I'm looking at my recipe. For me, I need a deadline. For me, I need a why. For me, I need to have notes. I had palm notes. I have notes. I have notes all around myself to remind myself. I'm not giving a speech, but that's my recipe. That's what works for me. I've got a deadline. I said that. I know that when I'm feeling unsure, that I'm on the right track, because that's common for me. That when I'm feeling unsure, that to me is like, well, that's my break. That's going to be my transformation. It's like a butterfly going to find its wings, its fly coming out of the cocoon. That's me. A feeling unsure is how I feel. It's very normal for me in my recipe to feel unsure going to a goal. So I need to tell my brain that this is me growing. And this isn't me not losing it or thinking that I'm going to get, fall flat on my face. It's actually a sign that my body is telling me, feeling unsure, that I'm getting closer to something, that I'm on the right track. It's my recipe. Remember, this is that works for me. That and I'm challenging myself. One of the things that I love to do is I like to challenge myself, even though it scares me. It scares the bejeevers out of me. But I know that that's part of my recipe, that I have to go and challenge myself. And usually what challenges me is because I won't get that opportunity again. Really, because I won't, that speaking competition that I wanted to do at school. But I use that recipe all the time. And isn't it funny that speaking competition happened when I was in year 11? So I was 15, 16 at the time. And I think 15, 16, 17, potato. But the point is that I recruit that memory every time that I want to be able to break through to a goal, through the next achievement, something that I want to do, something that's going to bring me happiness, but I need to get over my own thinking, my own self, because that's my level of awareness that I have about myself. Now, as I work on goals currently, I might choose different memories, different things that I've exploded in or I've done really well in, or I believe that I've done okay in, and that I want to recruit that recipe that I used in that moment. And so my recipe will change. But unless I build a foundation of what is already or has already allowed me to move forward or progress, anyone else's recipe I might not feel at home with. So it's important to know what is actually going to create a huge level of abundance, a huge level of change, or a huge attainment of a milestone based on your own awareness of self. So I wanted to give that to you guys, because I know that a lot of the times we're all searching for, well, how do I achieve the goal? And there's New Year's resolutions, and we could do this and we can do that. But the ultimate recipe is the recipe, the God-given path that you were given, and that led you unconsciously, that you somehow stumbled and fumbled to get there. But now if you can just dissect that process and really fine-tune what it was that got you there, that's going to allow you to know yourself more. And when you know yourself more, that's how you now can improve. Because the challenges that I challenge myself with are now becoming bigger for me. For example, I was emceeing, and I don't MC a lot, but I emceed a wedding, a family wedding. It scared the bejeevers out of me. Why? Because it's a family wedding. It's going to be on tape. If I fall flat on my face, then everyone's going to have like a little stab at it and a little joke, and it would have been a hard gig, So I deployed the same principle. I had palm notes with me. I challenged myself. I had accountability to the two people that were getting married, my two family members that were getting married. Like, I'll MC a wedding, right? And I need to prepare myself. So getting over myself. So what if I say something wrong? What if and they're all my family and they're friends? And what if I completely stumble? All of that stuff that comes normally when you're going for any goal. And I'm only using those two speaking goals, but there have been goals when you're starting your own business, when you're going and changing careers, when you're learning something new for the first time. That does all that stuff that happens when we're upskilling ourselves. The point is, guys, the best way that I have understood to build my own self-awareness is look at the recipe that I've deployed unconsciously in the past and look to re-employ that recipe. And then if that recipe is not getting me the results, that's when I will go and look at upskilling myself. That's when I'll go and look at, well, do I need someone to coach me? Do I need someone to help me in this department? But I start from the foundation of this is where I am right now, and then build from that, versus I have no foundation. Can you, someone please over there who's got a magic pill, who's got a magic something, help me? No, that doesn't work, because I'm putting all my energy and trust into someone else. But I can't take away trust in myself. And that's the biggest thing. So I have to have trust in myself. I trust in God first and foremost. I trust in myself. And now that if I can't get the results based on my own little skill sets, now I'll go and recruit someone else, something else, a book, maybe I'll go to a workshop or a seminar or a coach, or I will do something, go to an event, go and speak to a friend, someone else that has the knowledge or the skill set that I need to get me to the next level. Okay, guys, so I hope that's helped you in fine-tuning. So my advice to you is to go think back to a memory that you feel that you achieved. You feel that you achieved, not by my standard, not by your neighbor's standard, not by your sibling's standard, not by anyone else's standard but your own, that you feel, because the feeling comes from you. The feeling of happiness, of achievement, of growth, of progress comes from you, not from somebody else's opinion. And that's for a whole nother podcast, results versus effort. But I'd like you to go and focus on that specifically. And once you've got that memory intact, what led to that achievement? What happened? And really just get curious, think about it. And once you have it down on paper, that is your recipe. Now think of your goal, the next goal that you have. And what if you could deploy the same steps to achieve that next goal? Go and do that. I'd love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you if you would go and do that, and then share with me what you found about yourself, what you found about the process, what you found about achieving your goal. I would love for you to share it with me. And that just is an encouragement for others because when you progress, you become the catalyst for someone else's confidence or someone else's belief in themselves to soar and try it out for themselves, or really go gangbusters and trying to get their goals happening. So by you doing this and sharing it, you actually act like the domino effect, the catalyst. You become the inspiration for someone else. So I'd love to hear from you. Please either message me or email me, rita@unboxyourgift.com. If you've got any questions, I'd love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed this, if you feel that someone else needs to really get in tune with what their skill sets are, what their recipe for success is, then please share this episode with someone that you know that would benefit, a colleague, a friend, a family member. And by all means, please make sure to subscribe, because that would mean the world to me that this is helping you in some way. So wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, thank you for being here. And remember, life is a gift. Let's unbox it.